It's not every day you get to tell a miracle story that involves a moose. But Officer Erickson from the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife joins us today on Spirit 105.3. Thank you for being here, Officer.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
So you get a call that there's a moose in peril fighting for her life in the middle of an icy river in Spokane. And you and your fellow heroes go out to save this creature. What was that like?
Well, it's not a really uncommon call for us to get. So typically in those scenarios, we don't attempt the rescue because it's just too dangerous.
Yeah.
In this particular case, it was an elderly couple that called, and they were wanting a response. They were saying that they were going to go out and rescue the moose themselves.
Oh.
And so that was something I wanted to make sure I responded to make sure that human safety first. And once I got there, I realized that a rescue was possible in this case.
I'm so glad. So this moose was a mama, and her calf was watching. How hard was that? It was like you had an audience.
Correct. Yeah. Initially, we were told that it was the calf that fell in. So when we got there, I noticed that it was actually the cow that was in the river. According to the reporting person, it was about an 8 to 9 foot deep hole in the water there where she had fallen in. So she couldn't get her feet on the ground at all. So she was treading water. And the calf was just in the distance watching and a little less concerned, being that it was the calf, because if it was the cow, we would have been more concerned with her attacking us while we're trying to rescue the calf.
Right. I didn't even think about that. So how many people did it take to rescue the cow?
Well, we started out with, it was myself. I happened to have an intern with me that day, riding with me. So I had him to help. A Washington State trooper overheard the traffic on the radio, and he was available, also responded. So it started off with 3 of us, and then pretty quickly one of the volunteer fire department folks showed up on scene. They took a look and decided to call out their ice rescue team. So we knew we had some equipment and some other fire department crews on their way. So there was 3 and then 4 right at the end, 4 of us right at the end when we got her out.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it involved lassos. You have to lasso this cow to pull her out, right?
Yeah, something I'm not really familiar with doing. So we attempted using some throw bags with lines that we use for like rescuing people and that sort of thing.
Wow.
We used that at first, and it just wasn't working. She was able to slip it off of her neck. There was a couple times, there's some videos stuff out there of me trying to pull her out by myself because I was the first one to cross the ice, and I couldn't budge her at all. So one of the fire department guys, when he showed up, he brought some lassos, and that was helpful because we were able to get it around her neck, and she wasn't able to shake it off. So we were able to use that line to, all of us pull, and we had to break some ice as well.
Wow.
We tied ourselves off and crawled out on the ice and used an axe that I had and broke some ice, and eventually were able to pull her up onto the ice. And yeah.
How was she acting when you were trying to rescue her? Did she seem scared, or was she grateful?
Well, it's kind of hard to judge. I would say mostly pretty stressed. She appeared pretty stressed. Her eyes were wide, and I think if we'd have been in the water, she would have been attacking us. So
yeah.
Sometimes animals don't realize that you're saving them. Now, she was pretty worn out because she'd spent anywhere from 5 to 6 hours before we got her out in the water. So, towards the end of it, and us making attempt after attempt, she was getting pretty worn out and tired. So I knew when we got her up that she probably wasn't going to have a lot of steam left and wasn't going to be able to just attack us.
Wow. She fell into your arms. Isn't that what happened at the end?
Well, when we pulled her up, I noticed she was laying down on her side with her head down, and so I approached her. I've done this before with animals that have come out of the ice or when they're coming out of anesthesia. We commonly will pick their heads up so they can breathe better, and in her case, she was having a hard time breathing because of the lasso. Naturally, it was around her neck, and that's a lot of weight pulling the whole moose. So she was having a hard time breathing, and with ruminant animals like the moose, there's a fear that they'll aspirate on their rumen if their heads are stay down. So the vets teach us when they're coming out of anesthesia to keep their head up they can breathe a little bit better. So I just went in once I saw her laying on her side, not getting up quickly. I just went in and picked her head up and held her for maybe, I don't know, 3-5 minutes. It wasn't very long at all. And she got her energy and stretched out and stood up.
What did the calf do when Mom was okay?
The calf just kind of was hanging out, and it was feeding and drinking water. I don't think it realized really much was going on. It just was waiting for her. So, I mean, we've seen her go down and kneel down, break some ice, and actually get a drink of water at one point. We kept trying to scare her so we didn't want the calf to cross the river and end up in the water wells.
Well, Officer Erickson, I think it's a moose miracle. Thank you for sharing your story on Spirit 105.3.
I appreciate that, and anytime.